In MusicWorks, we partner with different organizations, often organizations in communities where there's high levels of violence. Often when children have experienced trauma, talking about what has happened is difficult. They might not have the language in the first place, and also, using words could be difficult. So through music is an alternative medium for expressing and communicating. What we do in music therapy is to use music clinically through various music interventions. For example, musical improvisation, songwriting through music, storytelling, movement to music, and we address specific goals. It's important for us to do group work. When they're playing together as a group, you need to wait your turn. Sometimes a specific instrument is the leader. So it's kind of very basic social skills that could be addressed through music. And what makes it really powerful, I think, to work with music is that it's a very accessible medium for children. It's a playful, creative medium. Alongside the psychological, physical, emotional pain caused by trauma, each person has a healthy being and a healthy core, an innate creativity, and music has the potential to access that creativity. So when a child is playing music, they're saying something about who they are and how they see themselves. But what is also important is that this doesn't just happen within a void. The child isn't just banging away on a drum, but there's a music therapist who is listening and reflecting it back to the child musically. So this interpersonal relationship is really where the therapy work lies. Several years ago, I did a therapy process with a girl who was 10 years old, and she had been exposed to domestic violence. The teacher was saying that she wasn't participating in class, she wasn't engaging in friends, and she was really becoming very isolated, and she'd also become really quiet. And when she arrived at the therapy session, I remember seeing this very vulnerable, fragile little girl who was barely making eye contact. She wasn't speaking at all. And I invited her into the room, and there was a big bass drum, and she walked up to this drum and she took the beaters and she made the most enormous, intense sound. And I was quite surprised by this big sound coming out of what I perceived as quite a fragile little girl. And that was the first few sessions, was her making these very big, intense sounds on the drum. So I would accompany her on the piano with kind of march-like music. And that is where the music therapy intervention would come in, is I would then try to move her gradually from this quite rigid, stuck big music. So she had a chance to express it, but then also being able to move to a different sound. So we eventually moved into more of a tango. I remember in our very last session, she was actually singing a song and dancing around in the room. So, for me, this is an example of a child who had strong, hard, intense, rigid feelings inside that she wasn't expressing, and actually she just become very isolated. But through music, she was able to express it, explore it, and to take that step to be communicating and interacting with someone else, with feelings that at times were quite scary. MusicWorks also partners with hospitals and clinics and children with special needs. And in that context, I think music really provides a very powerful medium for children to connect. Regardless of their disability or their illness, they're almost always still responding to the music that the therapist is making. And as soon as they start engaging with the therapist, they have a way of reaching out to the world, of saying to the world, this is who I am, you know, this is me, this is my voice.
Hello, hello, hello. Let's place the guitar. I started working with Leletsu several months ago, and initially there's very little response from her. And over the months that we've been working together, with offering her lots of choices, with really matching this, even the small little micro movements that I see her make and reflecting it in my music and having her become aware that my music is related to her movements, she's realized that she can really kind of have an impact on the music. Here we go. Jika jika, jika jika, jika jika, let's jika jika, jika jika. In children who firstly find it difficult to access words for how they're feeling, and then secondly have issues like pain or physical, mental limitations, they really can't express themselves. They're sitting with all those feelings of helplessness, of losing control. I'm told when to do things, how to do things. Music therapy accesses that emotiveness of the music, but also the playfulness of music, the fact that it's non-verbal, so children can really use it as a creative, expressive medium to help them deal with some of the feelings that come up having been in hospital, or help them realize that actually I can do this. I'm not limited by my physical capacity. So they're experiencing themselves as able rather than disabled. Are we going to play this one or this one? You're going to play this one. La, la. When I've finished with the session, then I'll hear the nurses singing some of the songs. So there's a lot more, I think, awareness of how music can help realize the child's abilities.
We can see that they're actually responding to the music that's playing, even though it's something you don't understand, but just the jolly atmosphere around her and with the children sitting attentively or partaking, it just lightens up the ward.